your IM poems. First of all, we're going to separate them into feet, then we're going to separate them by stressed and unstressed syllables. So this is kind of what your video was about yesterday. If you already did that, fine, you're ahead, but just hold on, okay? So we have to remember how many feet are in one line of an iambic pentameter poem. There are 5. There are 5 feet per poem, and how many syllables per foot? 2 syllables per foot. So every time we hit 2 syllables, we draw a line, okay? So we're going to do this on my poem up here, and then I'm going to give you a little bit of time to do it on yours. So go ahead and tell me where to draw the line in this first poem. Where do I draw the first one?
After am.
I am.
After spring.
The spring.
After rain.
When rain.
After from.
Falls from.
And then
The sky.
What?
You don't have to put one at the end.
What if you like more than one syllable in a word?
I'm going to show you, okay? Now I have 5 feet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to skip down to this line because in this line I have a couple of words with 2 syllables. So again, tell me which word to put the line after.
I am.
The moon. Moon.
Being shine,
Oh.
being on.
So sometimes you might have to split words in a few different parts. There was somebody 4th period who had a word with 4 syllables in it, so she had to do some weird splitting up of that word. So make sure you're going by syllables, not by words. It's all about the syllables. Our lines into feet. So every time you have 2 syllables, like right here, I am, you draw a line. The spring, you draw a line. So every time you hit 2 syllables, you draw a line after it. Okay? 2 syllables. All right, if you're not quite done yet, that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and explain to you how to do the stressed and unstressed syllables. This was in that video that we watched yesterday with the pirate. Okay? They made little symbols like this. Got it?
Did you get your hand?
Nope.
Darn it. I mean, whoops.
Okay, so each of these symbols means something different. The little U means unstressed. That's an easy way to remember it. And the slash means stressed, which means that the second word, the second syllable in each foot is the one that we emphasize. I am, the spring, when rain falls from, the sky. When we're using iambic pentameter, this is what the iambic means. It means that our second syllable in each foot is always going to be stressed. So when you label it stressed and unstressed, it should look exactly like that. Every single line you do. The tricky part is if you didn't do your syllables right, it's not going to look right because you should have 5 U's and you should have 5 slashes. It goes every other. So that's how we know that you've done the right amount of syllables. So I'm going to give you about 3 minutes to get this part done. Make sure it's separated in a feet.
Can a U and a line be in one word?
Yes. So like, oh yeah, that's right. That's why I wrote never up here. So if I have a 2-syllable word in one foot, I go never, just like that.
Okay.
So there can be 2 syllables. If it's a 4-syllable word, there's going to be 4 marks on that one word. Okay, it's every syllable has a certain mark. I gave each of you a prologue handout, so we're going to go ahead and actually start reading the play. This is the very, very first part of the play. So before the play starts, this guy comes out on the stage. No, just this part, because we're going to mark this up and we're going to delve into it a little bit. The guy comes out on the stage, he says, I am the prologue. Not literally, but he's like, and then he reads the prologue, which basically just tells the audience what's about to happen. So I'm going to read through it once, okay? I want you to number each line as we go. So just put a little number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so it goes, 2 households, both alike in dignity, in fair Verona where we lay our scene. From ancient grudge break to new mutiny, where civil blood makes civil hands unclean. From forth the fatal loins of these 2 foes, a pair of star-crossed lovers take their life, whose misadventured piteous overthrows doth with their death bury their parents' strife. The fearful passage of their death-marked love and the continuance of their parents' rage, which but their children's end not could remove, is now the 2 hours' traffic of our stage. The which, if you with patient ears attend, what here shall miss, our toil shall strive to mend. Okay, so that's the prologue, right? We got a lot of information in a short amount of time. It's 14 lines long, okay? This is actually a Shakespearean sonnet. Every Shakespearean sonnet has 14 lines in it. He started Romeo and Juliet with a sonnet. Sonnets also have a specific rhyme scheme. We covered rhyme scheme in 7th grade. Do you guys remember what a rhyme scheme is? How do you apply a rhyme scheme to a poem?
Like each word, like households and then you like mark it with a 1 over it, and you go through the poem until you see like it again, used again.
Isn't it A, B?
Not quite.
Like the-
You're like combining it. So we focus on the last word in each line, and we see if it rhymes with anything else. So the first line always has a letter A by it. So at the end of the first line, go ahead and put a letter A. And then every word that rhymes with dignity also gets an A. Okay, so if we read the second line, in fair Verona where we lay our scene, does scene rhyme with dignity? No, so what does that get?
A B.
It gets a B, and you go down the alphabet. Do you remember that? It's been a while. I don't know if you did it last year. We did it 7th grade year. Okay, so then the next one, from ancient grudge break to new mutiny. Does mutiny rhyme with the 2 words above? It rhymes with dignity, so we put an A. So they get the same letter because they rhyme. Okay, so I'm going to read through the poem. Go ahead and mark it with letters as we go. Okay, where civil blood makes civil hands unclean. What does that get?
B.
It rhymes with scene, so it gets a B. From forth the fatal loins of these 2 foes,
C.
a pair of star-crossed lovers take their life, whose misadventured piteous overthrows.
Oh, wait,
What's it get?
C.
Are we sure?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
Rose.
Doth with their death bury their parents' strife.
D.
D. The fearful passage of their death-marked love. E. And the continuance of their parents' rage. F. Which but their children's end not could remove.
E.
Pause, because this is a little tricky, because sometimes poets will break rules to keep their rhyme schemes. So technically, we're gonna say that love and remove rhyme. Even though they're not strict rhymes, sometimes they fudge it a little bit for the sake of the rhyme scheme. So behind remove, go ahead and put an E. So love and remove, both of those lines should have the letter E. Okay? And the next one is now the 2 hours traffic of our stage. F, because stage and rage rhyme. The which if you with patient ears attend, what here shall miss, our toil shall strive to mend. Now GG is at the end. Does anybody know what that's called when a poem ends with 2 rhyming lines? What? It's called the couplet. Oh, little couple, get it? Okay. That's called the couplet. So that's a specific Shakespearean sonnet. It's got that rhyme scheme, it's got the 14 lines and all that good stuff, okay? Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna read through it again, and we're gonna focus on the meaning of the words, because Shakespeare's language is not that easy to understand. We get a lot of information in this prologue, and we're gonna make sure we understand all of it, okay? That's for something different. That's like where the line breaks are normally, in like the book. Okay, so we're gonna literally translate line by line. So when we read one line and I tell you what it means, I want you to just jot it down. Doesn't have to be complete sentences or anything like that, just so you know what information you're supposed to get out of that line, okay? So the first one, 2 households, both alike in dignity. What does that mean? What's the play about?
2 prior families.
They're about 2 families. Okay, so we've got 2 different families. Kind of like the Hatfields and McCoys. You guys
I
ever
was
heard of
gonna
that?
make that.
Yeah, that's based off of Romeo and Juliet. Modern connection. I don't fully dab, I just do it partially. I hate myself every time I do it. I do it a lot.
What'd you do?
I always, for some odd reason, in awkward situations, I always go like this.
Okay, so we have 2 households, both like dignity, 2 families. In fair Verona, where we lay our scene. What's that mean?
That's where it is.
It takes place in Verona, Italy. That's our setting. Verona is the town. That's important. And Verona is in Italy. The Italian countryside. Okay. Takes place in Verona, Italy. The third line says, from ancient grudge, break to new mutiny. So first of all, what's a grudge?
Like something you hold against someone because you're mad.
Okay, so it's something that's like you're mad at someone. It's an ancient grudge, which means that something happened a long, long time ago, breaks to new mutiny. So what this line means is that these 2 families have been fighting for so long, they don't even remember what they've been fighting about. But nobody's gonna let it go. Okay, so they're constantly fighting. That's what you can put. They're constantly fighting because of something that happened ages ago. But nobody's willing to surrender first. From ancient grudge break, we gotta keep going. Where civil blood makes civil hands unclean. So what kind of fighting is it? Bloody. It is bloody. Lots of people have died. There's like constantly sword fights in the streets. People are stabbing each other and it's not good. So it is a bloody feud.
Imagine fighting for no reason.
Yeah, no kidding. That's line 4. 4, bloody fighting. Now, line 6? No, sorry, I skipped one. Line 5. From forth the fatal loins of these 2 foes. Do you know what loins are?
Legs.
Yes. Means
It's
like
where
two
babies
children.
come from.
Oh, that part.
Okay, so from forth the fatal loins of these two foes, each family has a child that our story centers around. So that's what you need to put. Each family has a child. Hint, one of them's name is Romeo, one of them's name is Juliet. Okay. A pair of star-crossed lovers take their life. So these two kids, first, what do? They fall in love. Then what do?
Lives.
They take their lives.
Okay,
Okay.
that makes no.
Now here's the deal.
I'm in love with you. Let's die.
Okay,
That's
so
not
that's the
explain
thing.
it, though.
Why would Shakespeare give away like the ending? Why would he give away what happens to the main
Because
characters?
that's not exactly kind of how it goes differently from.
It's a lot more complicated than what it seems. So he's basically like, here's what's gonna happen, you better stick around and figure out how. So people are like, oh my gosh, now we have to keep watching because we wanna know what happens, okay? How do these two young lovers, end up killing themselves? So he did it to kind of like entice the audience, to pull people in. Okay, so
You think he
two
was
kids,
trying to wake her up?
I just.
they fall in
realized
love,
I.
and they take their lives. Yes?
You remember that song Taylor Swift sang is like.
Yeah,
And then you remember when it was like "Bury Me," or like that's the other song that's.
They must have been listening to
That's
Bob
very
Burnham's,
me. It's like
Ooh, I don't know.
Bury me
they go
inside.
together. They like.
Lay me down.
That's
Yeah.
like they go
Oh, cool, I didn't know that. Nifty. All right, we're gonna put lines 7 and 8 together. Whose misadventured, piteous overthrows doth with their death bury their parents' strife. So basically that says all of their shenanigans, all of the trouble that they get into, what does it do to their parents' strife or their parents' hatred?
kind of left me.
It makes them hate each other.
It buries it. No, it buries it. So what do they do to the feuds?
Get over
They're
it.
like, get over it.
They're gone. So after these two kids end up taking their own lives, the feud is over. It buries all of that
What did they
hatred.
say for number 7?
7 and 8 go together. So all of the trouble they cause, and then them ending up taking their own lives, buries the feuds. It kind of ends all the hatred. So that's good. As good as 2 deaths can be, right?
And now I want to read it. I want to know how it
It's so good. 9, 10, and 11 also kind of go together. It says the fearful passage of their death-marked love. Their love is called death-marked. So we know from the very beginning of the play that they're doomed. Okay?
9, 10, 11.
9, 10, 11. Their love is doomed, and the continuance of their parents' rage, which but their children's end not could remove. So what is the only thing that could have ended this hatred?
Their
Their
death.
death.
The deaths of the kids, which is incredibly unfortunate. That's fate or whatever. Okay, so basically they were doomed from the beginning, and the only thing that could end the feud was these two kids dying.
Something goes in Romeo and Juliet when
Let's make our parents happy and die.
No.
I mean, it's not quite like that.
Well, it's more like the, oh no, she's dead.
That makes it sound like we hate our kids.
Yeah.
That's a little dark. Okay, the next one is now the 2 hours traffic of our stage. So what does that tell us?
2 hours of that.
It's a
2
2-hour
hours,
play,
yeah.
right? He's like, all right, you're gonna be here for 2 hours. So it's just telling us that it's a 2-hour play.
Wait, isn't that? They don't even have a play on
We should just not.
For like the 1 act or what? No.
Right.
Because everybody knows
No,
it.
because
Are
they
they
already
too
have one
graphic?
picked. No.
Which one? Oh,
It's
you
probably
want to say
super
that
where you-
We did Sleepy Hollow. Yeah. And then the last two, to which if you with patient ears attend, what here shall miss, our toil shall strive to mend. Those 2 lines together basically means if you listen, we're gonna fill in all the gaps. Okay? We're gonna fill you in on what's happening and how this ends up
So you want
going down.
That's
Yeah.
easy to understand.